The next panel is Richard Diott, Marguerite White, Sharon Shook, Joe Capraro, thank you, Ruth Allen, Carol Metcalf. They will be followed by Tenny Logan, Genevieve Cato, Johanna McCrary, Martha Hanna, Kirsten Tong, Marguerite O'Connell. Is that orange getting brighter, or is it my eyes? Richard Diott.
Thank you. My name is Rich Diott. I'm here representing myself, supporting SB1. I support the pro-life movement in general, which is a woman's movement. It's leadership, both in the political realm and in the personal service realm, where women, many of whom suffer from past abortions, give enormously of their time and money to support women before, during, and after birth, to support life. For me, the transition from pro-choice to pro-life came with an image on the wall of a coworker of a baby in a paper bucket. It had fingers and toes and a little nose. If the other side can persuade that this person is not a person, then I'm right there with them. But they don't, and that's why I'm here today, to give a voice to that baby in a paper bucket. In regards to SB1, if we are going to have legal abortions, I believe for the sake of women and our social dignity that the people who perform these gruesome surgeries should be highly qualified and accessible to hospitals. I believe that the facilities they use should operate to standards more like surgical centers rather than tattoo parlors. And since over 70% of this country opposes late-term abortions, consider them akin to taking a human life, and since science shows and the images show that the fetus is an active developing person, and if the young lady I met here the other day, 21 years old now, born at 22 weeks with pictures to prove that pain was her life's reality at 22 weeks, I believe that abortion beyond 20 weeks should be banned, and I strongly support this bill, and I ask you to pass it.
Thank you, sir. Marguerite White.
My name is Marguerite White, and I'm representing myself. I oppose SB number 1. I am from San Antonio, Texas, and my senator is Donna Campbell. In this environment, it seems like pro-life versus pro-choice equates to good people who want to save babies versus baby killers. Blue shirts singing Amazing Grace versus orange shirts with coat hangers. Proponents of the bill are called supporters, while opponents are called terrorists and mobs. That is the way that you have framed this argument. I'm sorry, I lost my place. Everyone in this room knows that this bill is not intended to protect the health and safety of every woman who undergoes an abortion. The ultimate goal is to shutter abortion clinics. You have made it abundantly clear that nothing we say will make any difference, yet here we are. To have a voice in our government, we must use our voices. You are using religion to promote your own agenda, one that has nothing to do with saving lives. A preacher once told me that a sin is a sin is a sin. What you are doing will result in the deaths of mothers and babies, back alley abortions, coat hangers, and the lots of clinics that provide medical care that have nothing to do with abortions will result in deaths. How can you not see that as a sin? I hate abortion. I wish to God that no woman or family ever had to go through the anguish of making that decision, but it should be between them and their doctor. The party of small government should stay out of it. If half the effort and money that is used to fight abortion and gun safety measures were used to improve education for all children, teach age-appropriate sex education, make available information and access to birth control, build community centers where mentors can encourage self-esteem and create a safe environment where children can feel they have value and hope, just maybe those children would make better decisions as they reach childbearing age. In a perfect world, all fetuses would be viable. Babies would only be born into families that wanted them, and rapists wouldn't exist. There would be no need for abortion, but we don't live in a perfect world.
Thank you, ma'am. Joe Prado?
Yeah, actually, Madam Chair, I'd like to delay my remarks until Senator Dool returns to the room, considering I have some remarks that need to be directed at him.
I think we're going to stick with the rules. I just picked up the gavel here, but I'm going to stick to Senator Nelson's rules.
Okay. I've been waiting 13 hours to speak to the man.
We respect that, but everyone has to play by the same.
Well, I will.
Proceed?
Yeah, I would like to proceed. My name is Joe Capraro. I'm a resident of Austin. Senator Watson represents me quite well, I might add. I'm relatively new to Texas. I've been here about 6 weeks. During that time, I've witnessed some of the most hypocritical, puzzling, disingenuous, and outright disturbing behavior from any set of lawmakers that I've ever seen. And I lived in California for 5 years, and I grew up in New Jersey. So I know questionable lawmaking. And it disturbs me to see not only the stated goal is so completely disconnected from what's being represented here. And in just those few weeks I've been here, I can tell you I'm already tired of being lied to by those who are supposed to be representing me. And the intelligence and the sensibility of the people of the state are being insulted. And I will say that in 6 weeks, even though I don't agree with everyone who's come up here to speak in front of the House and in front of the Senate, having lived in 6 different states, I will say that the level of participation that Texans are allowed in their government, in their republic, is unprecedented, and I'm happy to see so many of my new fellow Texans taking advantage of this. Someone early in the day suggested that you all sit in a dark room and examine yourselves. I think most important, you need to examine why you're doing this. And Governor Perry has demonstrated with his announcement today that the future of Texas is not his concern. So I hope that the members of this committee and the members of the Senate don't follow suit. Senator Hagar, I urge you to consider amendments that will bring this bill more in line with the desire of the people of Texas. And if you won't do that, I at least urge you to split it up so that the individual issues mentioned can be addressed individually. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have Sharon Sykes.
That's me. Hi, my name is Sharon Sykes. I'm from Frisco, Texas, and Senator Jane Nelson is my senator. I wanted to testify in support of this bill. At the young age of 16, I found myself a young woman in crisis facing an unplanned pregnancy. I would have been a great case story for those opposed to this bill as someone who deserved a choice at 20 weeks or beyond. I found myself pregnant. Technically, we hadn't had sex, but obviously the bright parts got close enough because here I was pregnant, but I was in denial that I was pregnant, and because of that, I didn't admit it or take the test until I was 22 weeks. Luckily, I had a lot of support, or not necessarily support. I was smart, and I recognized that there were a lot of options for a girl in my situation, and I resent the implication of the abortion industry and those opposed to this bill that there aren't a lot of options for women except for abortion. I placed my son for adoption, and a lot of times you hear, oh, if you do carry this baby to term, your life will be ruined, statistics are given. This just simply isn't true. I graduated from college, my MBA school. I was an executive at Dr. Pepper before I quit, and now I had my children at 3 and 1. It wasn't until 18 years after I placed my son for adoption that I had my first son. I hadn't had a sonogram with my unplanned pregnancy, so I was shocked when at my 12-week sonogram I saw a fully formed baby jumping off the walls of my uterus and not a clump of cells. He proceeded to suck his thumb with his hand on the back of his head, something he still does today at 3 years old. During that sonogram, I thought to myself, what if I had not known that there were alternatives when I became pregnant as a teenager? What if I had felt like the only option was to not ruin my life, was to abort my baby? How would I live with myself at this moment, realizing I had killed a being that looked and behaved just like a baby? And that's what my pain is for all these women that are having abortions. Eventually they will have children, and they're going to see that sonogram, and they're going to realize what they've done. And I feel so blessed I don't have to live with that.
Thank you for your testimony. Ruth Allen.
Hi, I'm Ruth Allen, and I'm from Houston, Texas, and Senator Dan Patrick is my senator. I'm here in support of SB 1, and I'm representing myself. I recognize the fact that the majority of abortions are fear-based decisions, but I come before you today to say that it's not our place to villainize these young mothers, that we all make fear-based decisions when we are put in situations that we feel we have no control over. I found myself in that situation in 2001, when after 8 years of infertility, I was finally pregnant. Only to be told at 10 weeks gestation that I had extremely aggressive uterine cancer, metastasized off of my cervix. It was headed straight for my daughter's placenta. I was told to immediately terminate my pregnancy. However, I found there's something stronger than fear, and that is faith in God and the God-given protection that a mother has for her child. Abortion turns mothers against that instinct. My fear as I sit here today as we face nationalized health care is that women like me in the future will not have a so-called choice for a high-risk pregnancy to be carried to term, that our government will make that decision for us. And we all need to realize that we are put on this earth to love one another and to support one another, and that includes the smallest amongst us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alice. Carol Metcalf.
Thank you. My name is Carol Metcalf, and I live in District 5, and Senator Schwertner is my senator. 4 years ago, I terminated a pregnancy past 20 weeks for medical reasons. During the past few months, a lot of people have been talking about me, whether they realize it or not. So far, I've been the only one, until today, who has publicly shared my story during this time. However, I assure you that I am not alone. I'm the only one who has stood up to share my story, either because it's an extremely private matter, because these women haven't been able to travel to Austin, or because they do come to testify, and people who testify after them say really mean and judgmental things. But I can tell you they don't support this bill. The day before my doctor stopped my daughter's heart and induced my labor, I was given a pamphlet that described fetal development, as if I was not aware. My doctor was also obligated to inform me that I was entitled to child support. I literally burst out laughing when my doctor told me that. I didn't need to be protected then, and I don't need your protection now. I consulted my priest prior to the termination, and he said, I think you're being a good mother. My priest was at the hospital for 6 hours while I was in labor. He baptized my daughter, presided over her memorial service and her burial. I appreciate the fact that there is a fetal exception in this bill, but the thought of listening to my daughter struggle to breathe, if only for a few minutes, while I couldn't help her, gave me nightmares. My daughter died instantly. Blanket treatment for medical issues is surely a recipe for disaster. I can tell you from firsthand experience that there are multiple moving parts in these scenarios. Things rarely go as planned, and anything can change in a moment's notice. I've heard a lot of talk from those who believe that childbirth is safer than abortion. It took me 6 weeks to physically heal after the termination. 3 years ago, I had another daughter. After her delivery, I required surgery when she was 8 days old, 8 weeks of rehab, and a full 18 months to recover. I know I'm a good mother to my 3-year-old. I know I'm a good mother now, and I know that I was a good mother then.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, well, thank you for this panel. Will the next panel come up?